The Pyramids of Montauk, Chapter 16, Tahuti, sometimes known as the dweller on the threshold. Tahuti was a key figure in the Egyptian pantheon and was said actually to reside in the Great Pyramid, usually portrayed as an ibis, if not a dog or an ape. Tahuti, Thoth, was the god of wisdom, learning, and magic. Also the inventor of numbers. Tahuti is best known as the scribe of the gods. The Greeks referred to him as Thoth, but also identified him as Hermes. The Romans called him Mercury, and the Hebrews knew him as Enoch. More to our immediate interest, Tahuti not only resided in the Great Pyramid, he was the builder of it. Of course, none of this means that he actually carried stones or stood over the workers as a foreman with a hard hat. As scribe of the gods, Tahuti absorbed all available knowledge and wrote programs, to use the computer analogy, in accordance with the various factors of evolution. He acted as a filter of all the various information that came in off the morphogenetic grid. And to use computer terms again, he would be better described as a systems analyst. The function of Tahuti and his role in creation itself digs much deeper. If you read the gospel according to St. John, it will say, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God." The Word is meant to mean logos, or the divine principle or character of existence. Etymologically, word means verb. In other words, the first action in the universe was a verb or activity of some sort. We can call it the first cause or whatever we want. The first cause was for something to emerge from nothing or no thing. This soon results in a sphere, as was described in an earlier chapter, and a tetrahedron unfolds a few steps later. As the god of numbers and geometry, Tahuti is credited with the creation of the tetrahedron, and thus the pyramid. He built the Great Pyramid so that it would have a resonance with the grid of the earth, and thereby create a dwelling place for himself. His role was to serve as a bridge between this dimension and the other worlds. As the god of numbers, Tahuti was not only involved in the creation process, his writings recorded the process and the knowledge that went with it. Throughout history, this information has been primarily relegated to the various secret societies of civilization. One of Tahuti's greatest secrets was known as the process of Tetragrammaton, which you may already be familiar with. It is found in the Bible and in the dictionary, but a complete understanding of the term is deliberately obscured. Books on witchcraft and secret societies will sometimes teach a portion of Tetragrammaton and say that it is highly secretive and not to be spoken of, and will be learned after a long process of initiation. Much mumbo-jumbo has arisen over the use of the word. If you look in the dictionary, Tetragrammaton is merely defined as the four consonants of the Hebrew name for God. Depending on the translation, it is either JHVH, YHVH, or YHWH. When vowels are added, it becomes Yahweh or Jehovah, which will be readily recognizable to most people. Few clergymen, if any, really understand what this concept means. Now, Aleister Crowley recognized the above definition and readily added the four letters Yod, He, Vav, and He. He correspond to the four elements of fire, water, air, and earth. Yod, He, Vav, He, four elements correspond. Fire, water, air, and earth. He also explains that the four letters are symbolic of the Father, or the first principle, who in turn begets the Mother, who is the female or negative principle. Their union brings together the son, who is their heir. A twin daughter is also produced, who is the end product. It is the father's role to make the daughter his bride so that she can take over for her mother. Then the daughter embraces the father and thereby rekindles the powers of the primordial All-Father. This is presented not as a rite of incest, but as a magical principle which is at the heart of all creation. Crowley has more to say, but he does not spill all the beans. There are, of course, myriad ways to look at this formula and to conjure with it. Although it might already be in print in some obscure fashion, the big secret about Tetragrammaton has to do with its etymology. The first 5 letters of the word spell tetra, which means 4. In other words, here is the tetrahedron surfacing again. Additionally, tetra as a phoneme can be traced back to tort, which means to twist or to rotate. This brings to mind the idea of the tetrahedron rotating as a creational process. The meaning of grammaton refers to something written, specifically letters. This brings us back to the work of Stan Tenen and the fact that Hebrew letters are formed from fire within the tetrahedron. Of course, the 4 letters of tetragrammaton are Yod, He, Vav, and De. Many occultists know this, but they do not link it to the tetrahedron, the 4 points of which correspond to fire, water, earth, and air. And if they do understand the principle, they certainly don't say too much about it. The idea that the tetrahedron is the basic genesis of life cannot be overstated enough. And that is at least one reason why I have taken the opportunity to give different views of this principle. As was stated earlier, all shapes can be derived from the tetrahedron in a process known as tetracking, whereby tetrahedrons are juxtaposed even, in whatever form is desirable. Almost any shape in creation can be manifested or juxtaposed. The DNA spiral, which is the very seed of life itself, can be easily derived through tetracking. If you stack 33, a master number in numerology, tetrahedrons face to face, it will form a spiral or a helix shape. If you splice this spiral of 33 tetrahedrons in half, it will form 2 helixes, which duplicates the form of DNA exactly. DNA consists of 2 helixes. Once this is done, the number of solid geometric faces on the 2 helixes is 66.666. This is why Crowley and others have called 666 the number of man. It is encoded in our DNA. This is also an opportune time to point out that there is another key correspondence to 666 in the periodic table of chemistry. This has to do with carbon, which is known as element number 12. All life on this planet is considered to be carbon-based because the carbon atom is conspicuously present in all living things. Carbon has 6 electrons, 6 protons, and 6 neutrons. Again, we have 666. 666. Crowley was not only keenly aware of the significance of 666, he was a patron of Tahuti and dedicated most of his last years to finishing one of his better books, which is entitled The Book of Thoth. This is one of the most authoritative books on the tarot. The word tarot is also spelled T-A-R-O, which also sheds some interesting light. Occultists say that tarot, T-A-R-O, derives from rota, R-O-T-A, which means wheel. Rota, R-O-T-A, is also the root of the word rotation. Regular etymology also traces the word tarot, spelled T-A-R-O-T, back to tort, which again means tortoise or twist. Not only does the tetrahedron continue to surface as we study sacred information, but so does the idea of rotation, which is of equal importance. If you refer back to the previous chapter, rotation of the octahedron shape was demonstrated as to how reality manifests through various dimensions. If Crowley has left his mark on Montauk, It could be said that Tahuti has too. The Ordo Templi Orientis, or OTO, has a Tahuti lodge, which meets out at Montauk. Further, the head of the OTO once informed me that he edited Jack Parsons' book, Freedom is a Two-Edged Sword, while visiting his Montauk brethren. At this point, we can safely say that correspondences of this nature are endless. In summary, Tahuti is a god or a creative function of the universe who is a repository of all sacred information. He was there in the beginning and has acted as the god of learning ever since. The knowledge possessed by Tahuti can be accessed by anyone willing to take the initiative required. As he dwells in the pyramid or the way station to the fourth dimension, he can offer a pathway out of this realm. Unfortunately, throughout history, this pathway has been either blocked, abandoned, or closely guarded by the various mystery schools and priesthoods. A veil was thus established that was virtually impossible to penetrate except by the most adept students of the universe. Of course, this has everything to do with the principle of the survival of the fittest and the consequent death of those who are not able to adapt. In the previous chapter, it was said that the pharaoh would look into the upper windows while interfacing with the lower windows of existence. When an ancient pharaoh penetrated the upper windows, he could be said to be going beyond the veil and immersing himself into the time gates of ancient wisdom. Few people in modern times have even been aware of the veil, let alone how to pierce it. It was only for the privileged few. The mystery schools of ancient Egypt taught these very secrets. A few of these have already been given in this book, in this video series, The Pyramids of Montauk. But some of their most ancient and protected wisdom had to do with one of the earlier correspondences we encountered in this video series, the planet Mars. That the name of their ancient city, Al-Kahira, or Cairo, means Mars, should not go unheeded. In the next video of Pyramids of Montauk, we shall examine some of the ancient history of the red planet. It's refreshment time, folks. Stick around, enjoy the chocolate-covered ants and the pina colada smoothies, but stick around for the next installment of the Pyramids of Montauk, where we will discuss the planet Mars. Namaste, namaskaram.